But before that, let me show you what this build's all about. For the weapon, we're gonna be using Infidel, which you get from the Corrupted Sand-Swept Tomes, which is a forgery dungeon. Just need to do 6 runs, and then you can buy this. We're using Tidebinder as an offhand for like charge, mobility spam. This for moving around, and it has some mana regen, which Infidel does not have that. Start off with the helmet, logistics, some SP, water and thunder damage, but the thunder damage on this one is really bad, but it goes up to 52, so it is a very good helmet. Plus, the main point is the -8 Warscream cost, and I'll talk about that later. We got Delirium, which is a nice walk speed piece. Slap this onto some builds to help you get over 100. Usually it's for the weird glassy builds that need walk speed. It also has some thunder damage, which works out well. Plus 13 strength, good SP, helps with the damage. Ringlets also reduces Warscream cost. You get some mana regen, and you get SP and all stat. Also gives you some reflection, which is useful for the warrior tree. You need to have 25 reflection from the ringlets in order for it to be like really good. Whatever you get is fine enough. Pro Tempore, you get some intelligence and you get some spell damage, and most importantly, you get the mana regen. Drow Fair reduces the bash cost this time, not just Warscream, but bash cost as well. Moon Pool Circlet, which is sustain piece, and Mitty, a raw spell, and walk speed bracelet plus dexterity, very good. And then Diamond Hydro Necklace. We're using this instead of contrast because you get some damage, you get some SP, and you get the same amount of mana regen, and you also get reflection, so you're not losing out on too much. But contrast would work if I wasn't using intensity as a ring swap. Only for raids. I wouldn't use intensity if you're trying to use this in general. I would prefer Moon Pool Circlet. But if you're in a raid and you get like any sort of mana sustain buff, you can slap intensity and you can replace Moon Pool with intensity and you will just do more damage. As you can see, we reduced a lot of the Warscream cost and also some bash cost, and this build has a lot of intelligence. Why are we doing that? This is a Warscream build with Air Shout. You got Air Shout, you got Tempest, and you got Cyclone, and you also have the bash upgrades as well. So quadruple bash and Thunderclap are the big ones. A stronger bash right here. We don't go for massive bash, but you totally could if you just removed Burning Heart and stronger bash. But I'd rather just do more damage and obviously more risky to not have a bigger bash. But you get bash area of effect upgrades anyway from Thunderclap, so it should be fine for you not to grab massive bash. This tree works out. Let me quickly explain it. Obviously we get cheaper bash. We're grabbing Fallen's quadruple bash, Bacall's Grasp, and Enraged Blow, just in case we lose our HP, we'll be able to do more damage. Ragnarok for the attack bonus. Every build should have this. Flying Kick shouldn't be needed, but you know, we get precise strikes by grabbing it. And we get stronger bash. And it lets us go all the way down here. Whirlwind Strike for uppercut. This is just nice to have. We're not going to be using uppercut too much, so it's not really super important, but it's how we continue going down to grab Cyclone and Thunderclap, which are very, very important aspects of this build. Tempest is also pretty nice. This build does a lot of damage by staying pretty close to the enemy, so it is kind of risky, but you do have the ranged option with Air Shout, which will fire a projectile that can go through walls, and it deals damage pretty well. It's a big hitbox too. The only issue with this is you can't spam it multiple times because it'll cancel itself out if you spam it too fast. It won't go the full distance if you cast too fast. So yeah, that's the ability tree and that's the build. Some items that are very helpful to have are the speed surges that you can get from Feathers Fly. Number 2, after you finish that, there's like a shop that opens up inside of Ava's house and you can buy these for like super cheap. This build may not even need extra speed to begin with because the walk speed is above 100 in this build, assuming you get like a good Delirium, right? You want to make sure this Delirium has good walk speed. But yeah, so the idea is you're mostly using Warscream, right? You're mostly using Warscream for damage, and you're also using Bash on cooldown. The reason why you can't just spam Bash is because it will cancel itself out, just like the Air Shout. Because you're using quadruple Bash, the Bash lasts for a while, which gives you enough time to just spam Air Shout in between Bash casts. What's cool about this build is that even though it's non-mythic, it does get some pretty good damage, and that's without being corrupted. I'm not getting any corrupted damage bonus, and I'm getting some pretty good damage here. And you don't even need to be this close. Air Shout gives you some leeway, has enough walk speed for you to like kite easily. But yeah, this is the simple, just the classic Thunderclap build. Is definitely an option if you don't want to be full Fallen like everyone else. It is definitely a fun option, especially with more speed. If you have like an archer on your team with the Windy Feet upgrade, it's so good. It is so good. And it does a ton of damage. Like, it does more damage than you expect for a non-mythic build. Like for a bunch of uniques and cost reduction items, like this build, Infidel is just really good, man. But yeah, here's some gameplay.